Welcome back to World Crisis Radio. Keep up with everything at Tarpley.net and Webster G. Tarpley Twitter feed. And buy my 5th edition 9/11 Synthetic Terror Made in USA with 46 drills of 9/11. Read about that issue in the London Guardian this past week. Article by Charlie Skelton about the how the world changed on 9/11 conference organized by INN in New York City. So the first imperative, the Greek debt moratorium, and of course that means you Portugal, you Ireland, all the rest of them. These debts are unsustainable. Remember, we're dealing with a banking panic, not a sovereign debt crisis. And the reason we are is because the national states can still decide which form it's going to take. So from the national state point of view, the national states, can either declare the banking cabal insolvent and bankrupt, or they will find a way, as we're seeing this week with the Wall Street Journal and Moody's, they'll find a way to declare you bankrupt. So choose, and choose fast. The Greeks need to go to a unilateral debt moratorium on the South American model. Mexico, Brazil, Argentina have shown the way. Many other countries, dozens of other countries around the world, nothing new. This does not require Greece to leave the euro. Why should it? The euro is a community of destiny among countries that belong to a historic block of nations, and this should remain together through thick and thin. Why should it fall apart? Because if you separate them out, they're going to be picked off. They're going to be destroyed, be it by the Anglo-Americans, or maybe the Chinese will take them over and run them. Maybe they'll essentially drive everything down to absolute subsistence wages, right? The Chinese austerity record is not so good. Nobody would choose this. Nobody in his right mind would choose to be dominated by foreigners in any way. But the euro, properly organized, offers at least the possibility of doing this. So Greece needs a debt moratorium, not to leave the euro. And this, I go back to Jimmy Rogers, right? An intelligent speculator, the old friend of Soros. And of course, in the Panic of 1837, we had all kinds of American states going bankrupt. We've had American cities going bankrupt. Somebody goes bankrupt, you don't throw them into the outer darkness where there's much wailing and gnashing of teeth. You mobilize your national, or in this case, European-wide community to come in and create an economic recovery. I'll tell you exactly how to do it. Let me just remind Greece, don't listen to Brand X economists. Don't listen to Keynesians. Don't listen to anybody from the left wing of the Democratic Party. They are not your friends. I'm thinking of Michael Hudson, the former economist for the Dennis Kucinich campaign, a terrible series of disappointments there. Don't think that there's any middle way. Don't try to go with the Alan Garcia, we'll pay you a percentage of our foreign exchange earnings. Forget all that. Go for a nice, clean, intelligible, and politically potent debt moratorium. The Greek politician who comes forward to demand a debt moratorium will have his future secured and his place in history secured, because this is now the need of the hour. Don't wait for Trichet, and even worse, don't wait for Draghi. This is now out of the frying pan and into the fire at the European Central Bank. These guys must go. Now, concerning austerity, no more austerity. It doesn't work. Greece has implemented, as Madame Lagarde is fond of saying, Greece has implemented all of these idiotic IMF conditionalities, genocidal austerity, but also idiotic because it's futile. It doesn't work. Why does the Greek deficit continue to grow? Because austerity does not work. The more you cut the budget now, the bigger the deficit will be. It's unending. It's a death spiral. Deal with it. Get out of it. Break out of it. Don't let them continue to dictate this to you, oh Greeks and others there in Europe. We're looking at the same thing among the British. I mean, it's always the same. Again, from Bruning to Schwarzenegger to Papandreou and now to Cameron. We have 110,000 new unemployed in Britain. The jobless rate is relentlessly rising. Why? Because budget cuts don't work. The entire lunatic Austrian, monetarist, neoliberal, and Keynesian view on this stuff well, maybe the Keynesians get off on this narrow point. But they don't understand that actually Keynes did save himself, although he doesn't know what the proper answer is. You can't expect to cut things and then have a recovery. They're driving themselves deeper and deeper into this debt crisis. Now, if we say no to bailouts. There should be no money pumped into these banks because their fundamental problem is they've got derivatives in there, off-balance sheet derivatives. You've got to cancel the derivatives. Most of these banks do have to go through a bankruptcy reorganization, right? The European money center banks, they are zombie banks, of course, and they've got to be put through the Chapter 11 U.S. version, which means that the most noxious, the most destructive forms of debt can be deleted and shredded, and those are the derivatives, the kind of thing that our friend Adoboli was working with there in London for UBS. So get rid of that. So far we've got debt moratorium for Greece. No to bailouts. They don't work either, do they? Helicopter Ben has tried it. There's more in the insatiable black hole of derivatives is more powerful than any amount of credit that you can generate. Austerity does not work. Eurobonds, no to Eurobonds, nix Eurobonds. The European Central Bank should not be borrowing money. The European Commission should not be borrowing money. Rather, the European Central Bank should engage in lending. We need to use the credit-creating power of the European Central Bank as an asset. Why destroy it when you can make it work for you? The European Central Bank has got to put out a tender offer to all of the national states saying, we're happy to buy 1 trillion euros of bonds by nations, by provinces, by other subdivisions, by groups of provinces, consortia of provinces, or cross-border operations like between, say, France and Italy to develop something going through the Alps, or between Germany and Austria and Germany to develop other things. In other words, in the Benelux, there are so many possibilities. It's just got to be infrastructure. It's not here for financial services, not banks, not credit card companies, not money market funds, not speculation, not hedge funds or locust funds, but only for infrastructure. So again, Greek debt moratorium and all the southern tier go debt moratorium. No to austerity. No to bailouts. No to Eurobonds. And make the European Central Bank generate credit. Now, to prevent that credit, and this is, again, Kreditschöpfung für Arbeitsbeschaffung. That's the slogan. Credit creation for job creation. Credit creation for national and indeed European-wide infrastructure projects of permanent value, increase the capital stock of Europe, permanently raise the productivity of labor in Europe. But not any of that money should go to financial speculation, zombie banks, or bailing out derivatives. The other thing, obviously, is you've got to crack down on the tools that are being used to attack you. We've said this before. Ban credit default swaps. Just ban them, and do that now. Any means, any executive order, decree, law, whatever you can do. National emergency, any way you want to do it. Ban credit default swaps and put some reach into that, right? Claim extraterritorial jurisdiction. Start attacking people issuing credit default swaps from New York or London. And with London, you got some European tools that you can use to crack down on them. And, of course, the Euro-Tobin, right, what Merkel and Sarkozy talked about, but they don't seem to be any hurry to implement it. We need a 1% Euro-Tobin on all financial transactions, and that money goes into the treasuries of the national states. It could also go to the European Commission, but only for infrastructural development and other things that represent real economic production. There are a couple of other things to add about this, but that's the program for Europe. And there's no reason to go into the chaotic collapse of the euro and the collapse of much of civilization in that part of the world, which would go along with it. We'll be back in a minute with our second hour here on World Crisis Radio.